Welcome to the Rabbi and the Reverend on the Gab Radio Network, featuring Rabbi Daniel Cohen and Reverend Greg Dahl, broadcasting live from Stamford, Connecticut. Today, they will begin a lively conversation about faith, life, and culture from their respective faith backgrounds. Between the two of them, they represent about 40 years of experience serving synagogues and churches. But more important, they share a friendship and many faith convictions. And now, the Rabbi and the Reverend.
Welcome.
Well,
anyway,
we transitioned before.
No, it's great to be there, and God willing, we'll do it again.
I always love watching you pull off these transitions from these disparate topics.
Well, soccer, it's interesting, by the way. Soccer isn't as popular in America as it is in Europe, and one place is Israel. It's a real transition here. We have a special guest who is traveling the country to really promote the wonderful things that Israel is doing. I met him at our synagogue a few weeks ago. He was a guest of a member of our synagogue who served in the Army, Phil Steinmetz. His name is Lior Vaknin. Welcome to the Rabbi and the Reverend. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me, Rabbi and Rabbi Cohen and the pastor.
Thank
Our
you for
pleasure.
joining us. Great to have you.
Lior is an Israeli entrepreneur. He served in the Army, which I'll tell you about a little bit, and he's also what's called a Hasbara expert. Hasbara means to explain, to get the word out about what Israel is really doing. Unfortunately, there's a lot of negative press about Israel, and he's really there to tell the positive story, which is the story. And he decided to go on a journey to all 50 states and share with local communities how Israel's startup nation, there's a wonderful book, Startup Nation, about Israel's bringing technology to the world, can help improve Israel's image and promote it in the best possible way. So again, welcome to our show, and maybe you can tell us a little about what inspired you to do this, what you're doing, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So I arrived I'm an Israeli technology entrepreneur, and I arrived in 2013 to work on my second startup here in New York. And while working on it, I saw that even though there are a lot of Israeli entrepreneurs, first of all, there wasn't a community. And second, when I talked to the people on the streets, people who have no connection to Israel or Judaism, when I told them, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Israel? I was surprised that they still have the notion of either a war zone or, it's a place full of camels and a desert, basically.
Right.
So I thought that, there needs to be some education, or something needs to be done here for people to know really the whole truth about Israel, about the fact that it's second only to Silicon Valley in the number of startups coming out of Israel. It's one of the biggest manufacturers of technology startups in the world, and there's a lot of companies and softwares that people use on their everyday, and they don't even know that it's Israeli, one of which is Waze, which I'm sure some of our listeners know. But Waze is a navigation app, and they have over 60 million users, and it helps you get from point A to point B in the fastest way. And it's a company bought by Google for $1.3 billion in 2013. There are numerous other examples, such as Mobileye, which is a company that was based in Jerusalem, and this is collision detection and collision prevention software that is integrated in some of the biggest manufacturers, such as Volvo, BMW, GM, Ford, and so on. And they were sold a few months ago to Intel for over $17 billion. So there's a lot of companies and there's a lot of things that are coming out of Israel. And I think that we have a job, or we have a mission as people who are supporting Israel, to go and share this news and the good things that Israel is doing with the rest of the country, so people would have a better image or a better understanding of what Israel is about.
That's really, really interesting. The one question I have, so I think this is just a wonderful vision you have to go around and to educate and to communicate, coming from the Christian community, where there are lots of misinformation out there and misunderstanding about the nature of Israel. I too have heard lots of the negative reports coming from my own denomination. I'm Presbyterian Church USA, where we had divestiture plans in place for years, which I've not been supportive of. So I've heard that the negative reports. But I'm curious in terms of so far in your travels, what has the response been, and have you received some opposition to what you're trying to communicate and promote?
Yeah, so right now it's a great question. Right now I'm in Algonquin, Maine, and Maine is the fifth state in my journey. And so far I've been welcomed and with very open arms, and people have been very supportive of everything that I'm doing. I would say that in my next talk would be Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. in Montpelier, Vermont, where they said that they're waiting to hear what I have to say because they've received some anti-Israel and a lot of opposition over there. I want to clarify something, and this is something that I think is very important. My mission, and this is also something that I explain in my talk, isn't to go and try to, explain Israel or really try to work with the opposition and people who are opposing Israel and try to bring them closer to my stand, because I believe that if someone is opposed to a certain matter, and it doesn't matter if it's politics, if it's if it's a car manufacturer or whatever it is, you would waste a lot of time, money, and energy bring them closer to your stand with not a lot of success, rather than working on those who don't really have one opinion one way or another. And this is really my work, to work with communities and work with people who are already supporting Israel and give them the tools and show them and explain to them how, by learning about Israeli entrepreneurship, how learning about Israeli startup, they can promote it with the people who just don't know. And those are really my target audience. So
I think that's
if a certain community, or if you have people who are against Israel and want to boycott Israel, it doesn't really matter how many facts and how many things I bring to the table. It won't change their mind.
Yeah. No, I think your strategy is great, and maybe we can talk a little bit more about maybe a couple more of the stories you've shared, and also how you decide in what community in a particular city to go. So we appreciate we have today on our show Lior Vaknin on the Rabbi.
And the Reverend.
Welcome back to another segment of the Rabbi and the Reverend. We are joined today by Lior Vaknin, who is traveling the country to all 50 states, telling the story of Israel as a startup nation and really trying to give people the tools to be able to promote a lot of what Israel is doing, and in many ways, in certain terms, a spiritual kin with America as well. And you were talking a little bit about your reception that you're getting, and thank God you seem to be getting a very positive one, and also I think smartly putting much of your energy upon those who are supportive or in the middle, as opposed to trying to convince those that are not.
Yes, absolutely. So my target audience is, as I mentioned, are people who are supporting Israel and are facing those anti-Israel, and it's most of the time, I would say it's a disguise saying it's anti-Israel. It's anti-Semitism of the 21st century, and they're looking for tools on how to really oppose those and how to inform people in a better way about what Israel is doing. So I'm acting as a messenger and sharing with them the good things that Israel is bringing to the world with its startup nation. Now, I believe, Rabbi, that the best way to touch someone's heart or to really affect someone is if you touch him on a personal level, because some people are right wings, left wings. Politics doesn't necessarily serve us in the best way. But if you can help someone on either to get a job, either to find a spouse, either to really deal with this day-to-day work and the things that bother him on a day-to-day basis, this is the way to touch him. And Israeli innovation and Israeli technology right now is almost in every sector possible, is at the forefront of it. So I'm giving the people the tools to really, first of all, be interested in what in what they have to learn, and the interest that that is relevant for them the most, and then find out what are their friends' issues, and using the Israeli technology and the Israeli innovation, they can really help them in the best way possible. And by that, all we want to do is basically plant a seed of people knowing that Israel is not a desert, or that Israel is not a war zone, that it's really doing good things to the world and helping people on a personal level.
Thank you. So we have a couple minutes left in this segment, and you have an opportunity right now to share one inspiring story. I know you mentioned Mobileye, but just something, you got a minute or two. What would you say to people that you can give our listeners a tool when they stop listening to the show today to take Israel with them on the road?
Yes. So I think, it's more than just the Israeli entrepreneurship. I think that if we're talking on a bigger level, I think that we're all, when we hear the media or when we hear information, we really need to look it up and find out what are the motives, or why people are promoting or pushing agenda one way or another. And we all should be more alert and more try to find the resources that are accurate in order to really get the full picture. And this is what I'm trying to bring with the Israeli technologies. There's so much going on. There's so much beautiful things. One of the companies that I like to mention is a company called Zebra Medical, and it's a company that uses big data analytics, and they're taking hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of public records, and they're using it in order to get detections of early stage cancer, things that the regular doctor won't be able to detect. And these are just some of the examples of Israeli innovation in the medical aspect, and these are really things that saves lives. So I'm really proud of companies who are helping the world be a better place and saving lives at the end of the day.
Yep. No, it's amazing. Just one thing I want to mention also, I was at a conference in Washington. I heard about this company called WaterGen, which actually takes water from the air, which is an amazing thing. There are areas where they're not able to produce water, and you put this there, and literally you put your cup under. As long as there's humidity in the air, it processes it and really brings water.
Amazing.
Totally amazing. And Israel's partnered with California to learn about how to harvest water, or excuse me, not harvest, but just make the greatest use of water to take these areas that are arid. And it's just a really amazing what you're doing. I think you're on a holy mission. I just want to say, as we conclude the segment, then I'll have the pastor will shine. He's got one other point. We are told in the Bible, it says that through Abraham and Sarah, that the nations of the world should be blessed. Ultimately, that's the mission of the nation of Israel. And God should bless you. You're a true partner and ambassador with helping get that message out with all the wonderful things that are happening in Israel.
I appreciate it, Rabbi. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The pastor, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'll just follow up with that, because I guess my question was, for those who are listening to us, because many in our audience listen to this show are people of faith from both Christian and Jewish backgrounds, and they might be asking the question, what's the import of this as it relates to my faith, or what can I learn here today from our guest about our faith, or the importance of Israel? And I think you answered that well in terms of this is one example of someone living out the calling to be a light to the world, a light to the generations, and being able to share what God has entrusted to us. But anything else you want to add to that in terms of how you see this as a mission or calling?
You're asking me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, you get the last word.
Yeah. No, so I wanna thank you all, and I want to tell my listeners that if you want to learn more about my journey, and I'm documenting this entire journey in all 50 states, they can go on the website. It's Vaknin Lior, VAKNINLIOR.com, and they can check it out, see where I'm at, and invite me, because I'm open to giving talks everywhere possible and helping people learn more about what Israel is doing. And I want to thank you too for inviting me on the show, and allowing this platform to really spread the message of my work, and hopefully we'll be able to succeed in my work and my mission.
That's great.
Thank you very much. I mean, we really appreciate you joining us. Very inspiring to hear someone who's taken a mission, their sense of calling, and taken that and trying to do good with it. I think it's a message for all of us. What is our mission? What has God deposited in our heart? What passion do we have to serve? And what are we doing with it? And you're doing something with it. And so I really appreciate that. It was really inspiring to hear someone that's putting feet to thoughts and passions and ideas in their heart.
Yep, and again, thank you. And as we say, God should bless you in all your ways. You're on a journey. It's a holy journey. Every step is a prayer, as Abraham Joshua Heschel said. And look forward to seeing you back in our neck of the woods. Have a wonderful journey, and God bless you. Thanks for joining us today.
Amen. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for joining us in the second segment of The Rabbi
and the Reverend.